Hey guys, Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. Here we go, video on turbo maintenance. People have asked, and we'll continue to ask about looking after turbos, and is there a time can we service it? Can we make any adjustments? Should we replace it? Is there a time to replace it? Now, okay, with a turbo, it's like an engine. It's expensive. You don't replace it before it needs replacing. It's a major component. So a turbo, for example, on the Pradas and Hiluxes, they're kind of like you're going to be anywhere from you know, two to 3.5 grand, depending what you get. You know, I mean, you can get genuine, you can get aftermarket crap. I mean, aftermarket brands. You can get rebuilt crap and rebuilt. You know, there's you know, all the best with that. Different brands, different rebuild. You know what just works? The genuine just works, okay? There's vehicles running around with hundreds of thousands of kilometres on them, and I don't mean 200,000, I mean hundreds of thousands. That means 200, 300, 400, 500, and even more on the original turbo. So why do some do that and some, you know, some don't last as long? And what's the mate? We're going to get into those few bits and pieces, and I might not nail it in this video. So subscribe and turn the bell on so you catch it in the next one as well, because we do these things again every now and then in case I miss something or somebody asks a more specific question. I do look at the comments, I do take note when I've got time. So turbo, the best thing you can do to look after your turbo is oil changes, because guess what? It's, you know, also coolant, I suppose, coolant changes. I mean, if you've got dirty, grotty, rusty coolant, and with the Toyota stuff you won't have that, so I don't want to focus too much on that, but same with the oil, the soot loading. I mean, the oil is what is meant to be protecting these components, and when you get little small things, bearings, bushes, brushes, whatever, and little small, you know, tolerances and that, you need some nice clean oil to be in there to be able to, you know, protect it, lubricate it, and look after it, and keep it cool, and that sort of thing. Now, keeping it cool, that's the next thing. So the first one is regular oil changes. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. On pretty much every vehicle, I recommend 5,000k oil changes. Doesn't matter if it's petrol or diesel. Oil's the lifeblood. Oil's looking all right in some cars at 5,000. It's looking pretty average in others, and I'm not really fussed about getting the oil tested and going, oh, it's fine still and all that, right? It's just, I'm looking at the soot loading with my eyes, and I go, well, for the price of the oil, it's a lot cheaper than an engine and a turbo, right? So you do whatever you want, but on my cars, I do 5,000k oil changes. Okay, so there's your maintenance. There's no other maintenance really that you can do to a turbo. No, you don't pull it off, you don't muck around with it. If it's working right, you don't touch it, just leave it alone. There's no schedule on the 1KDs that I'm going to go, oh yeah, every 500,000k, just replace it as prevention. No, because that can go a lot longer than that. Most people don't have turbo problems. They're a really good turbo. That's why if you were to have a turbo problem, I'll say, you know what, come to me. It'll probably could be 2.6, could be 2.8, could be 3.2, just depends what turbo. If you want the gasket kit delivered to your door, whatever. Point is, budget 3 grand, right? Budget 3 grand for your turbo when it happens, and get the turbo from me, brand new, genuine, happy days, and you'll get the same again. It'll probably last you forever, even longer. If you got the vehicle second hand and it's let you down at some point, it probably hasn't had the right maintenance, and there's still more maintenance I'm going to tell you about, right? So the oil changes. The other important part is letting it idle, let it cool before you switch it off. Okay, so there's more to come too. Don't you worry. Really important stuff. But you know, that doesn't mean you get home from taking the kids to school or getting back from the shops 2k's down the road, you got to let it idle. But you know, it all depends on the climate. So that's one thing you got to look at. The moment we've got an ambient temperature of about 14 degrees, right, in Melbourne, sort of, you know, Melbourne regional, Victoria regional area at the moment, 14 degrees. Of course, we're travelling along at 110 kilometres an hour. That's highway speeds. The turbo's doing some work, particularly when we come to the hills. That's where it gets hot. If I was to pull over, you don't just pull over there in that emergency bay and switch off the engine straight away. When you've come off the highway, let's just go to worst case scenario. You're like this, you're towing. Okay, let's go maximum tow capacity, 2.5 ton, 3 ton, whatever it is, whatever vehicle you've got. We're hauling up and down these hills and everything's working, it's hot. So what you do there is, I suggest, when you know you're coming to your stop, to your destination, back it all off and it can start cooling down straight away. Reduce your speed, get some airflow, less work for the engine. But if it's been working hard, let it idle for 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes is kind of the maximum you should need to, right? And it's a sliding scale from there. What, you're not towing, but you've been doing 100 to 130 in the Northern Territory? Well, if you just came from 130, hit the brakes and pulled over because you went, oh look, I'm at the, oh look, I've got to go into Daily Waters pub and get fish and chips, whatever, get some barramundi, right? Right, you might need to just let it idle again for a minute or two, right? Because you've just been working it at 130. If you're not towing, you've probably got something on your roof. It's working hard, it's doing work, right? The turbo, the engine are doing work, they're hot, so let it idle. Now, if you've been driving around in a 60 zone, you probably don't need to let it idle at all. If you've just been cruising, you know, 60, 80 Ks and it's winter, like now, you don't need to let it. Just, you know, as you come to your destination, get off the gas, dribble your way in. You know, don't hold people up. I just mean you don't need to, like, you don't need to come up to that round. A lot of people come to a roundabout and they stop. There's no cars anywhere to be seen, and they stop, and you nearly run into them because you're going, what are you doing? Like, you know, I mean, everyone's each to their own. You've got your right to stop if you want to, but you don't need to, and you're kind of disrupting the flow. It's unnecessary. You just need to give way to your right on the roundabout. Not even up the road, mate. If there's a car 20 metres up the road, you don't need to give way to it. It's on the roundabout. Now we're doing driving lessons, back to turbos, right? So you come down to the roundabout and you just get off the gas, you cruise around the roundabout into your estate, whatever you're doing, and you just cruise. You be consistent. You don't accelerate hard, you just cruise along light gas. It's just like idling anyway, you know, 1500 revs, whatever it is, something like that, and you're not pushing it, it's already cooling down. So if you do that, and it takes you a minute or two to get to your destination, then you probably don't need to let it idle at all. But if you've sort of worked, you know, so you've got to work it out. Anything from 0 to 2 minutes on a sliding scale, towing maximum capacity at speed and highway speeds, creating heat, 2 minutes, that's worst case scenario. All the way back to 0 if it's a cold day and the engine's not even warmed up and you just cruise around slowly, drop the kids off at school. You don't need to let it idle. And lucky, hey, because nobody knew about this anyway, and that's probably why people have had some issues with turbos. Perhaps the previous owners, you know, not enough oil changes, missed a few services. There's some other factors. There's a number of other factors. I'm still going. I'm going to try and nail this one in another 2 or 3 minutes, you know, keep it to about 10 minutes wherever we can. But you notice we see a lot of short videos as well, so please, round of applause, smash that like button if you get a short one. But I know a lot of people want all the maximum information. Obviously he's turning off to the right, that's fine, we don't have any issue with people going in the right. See, he's letting his turbo cool down, he's slowing down. No, he's just driving safe, it's all good. Alright, so the other one is, okay, sort of on that one still, so 2 minutes. The other maintenance factor is bigger exhaust. So I'm not a turbo specialist. You know, we've got an idea how turbos work, how to look after them. There's not a lot to do. We know how to change a turbo, we can supply you a turbo, but I'd much rather tell you how to look after your turbo, never sell you a turbo, never have to install a turbo, or never have to recommend, because it's much easier to not have to do that, right? So, bigger exhausts, the turbo specialists, people that, you know, rebuild turbos every day and they're good at it, they've got no reason other than to tell us the truth. And they tell us that bigger exhausts, particularly, let's talk about these turbos and the 1K, these people with bigger exhaust, then you get overboost, bada bing, it's overspooling, bada bing, it does damage, and bada boom, it's all over, right? So don't put your big exhaust on. If you want your turbo to last, just keep the standard exhaust system. I've demonstrated videos in the vehicle service and inspection playlist. Check out our playlists, how quality the exhausts are. They're a good size, they breathe well. Of course, if you reduce the back pressure, you're going to get a little bit more, but it's a diesel, you don't want top end anyway, you want low down torque, you kind of lose a bit of that if you open up too much. It's a whole another story, we're not going there. So just keep your standard exhaust, it's quality, and it's engineered to work with the turbo in the vehicle, okay? So if someone's had a problem with the turbo, perhaps the previous owner didn't let it idle enough, or maybe it's missed some services. The oil is the lifeblood of the engine, and the turbo is kind of a critical component, right? Around the engine, you know, if you didn't have good oil, or you didn't have, you know, whatever, the quality there, your turbo is going to be one of the first things to fail, okay? And it is rare on the 1K. They're a really good turbo, but I'll tell you now, every single time a turbo fails prematurely, it's just not going to be luck, okay? It's just not, oh, you've had, look, you know, maybe you've had a bit of bad luck. It could be one every now and then, 1 in a million, you know, because the manufacturing, the quality of these turbos is good. I don't believe there's the odd one that, you know, material workmanship causes it to fail at 300,000 Ks or whatever. I reckon by 300,000 Ks it's tired because it's done heaps of towing, people switch it off too soon, it's got heaps of soot. Now there's more, there's one more bit before we finish. You've got to keep it running clean to keep your oil clean, right? So if you keep your whole engine running in maximum efficiency, clean filters, good injectors, that sort of thing helps it run clean. Most power and efficiency and good combustion to keep the engine cool as possible. But the most important part is because you've got sort of fresh injectors or not too flogged. If you've got flogged injectors, you're going to have more soot, right? You know the soot, the black stuff that blows out the tailpipe? So there's more of that there. So that cakes up your intake more, but it also puts more into the combustion, right? Which blows past the rings, blow-by, normal blow-by situation, not talking about injector seats leaking out, we're just talking about normal blow-by at the rings, contaminates the oil, then you've got this soot loading in the oil, right? It's no longer nice, smooth, clean oil. It's not protecting your turbo like clean oil because you've got these old flogged injectors because they've been left. So this is some of the reasons. So you might go, oh, but I've, you know, well, you know, just injectors in. So leaving injectors in too long can cause so many other issues. Anyway, I've waffled on long enough, 11 minutes. I hope you like how to look up the best things you can do to look after your turbo. That's what I'll probably call this one if I remember. You know, I've got to go back and watch the video again to remember the best things to do to look after your turbo. All right, let me try that one. All right, that's it, guys. You know, like if you learnt something, and so YouTube knows what you like, and so subscribe, turn the bell on if you just like me and what I'm telling you, and then you won't miss the next one. Catch you on the next one. See ya.